Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Ah, yes, here we are. A dreary Thursday, the final day of September, which means tomorrow's October, which means Halloween is right around the corner, which means Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's. Happy New Year and good God. How you doing? Man, that rain. Talk about incessant. That was good. We needed a good drink. I don't know. I got a little of this and a little of that. Hey, by the way, and I've been remiss, I want to invite you to something tonight that's fun. Seriously fun. Always is, but will be especially fun since it's the 20th annual, you pull out stops for those kinds of things. The 20th annual Banned Books Readout. And this will be at the Carnegie Museum, Forbes Avenue, that big, imposing building. There is, not in the big thing, but there is a lower level in the art museum where there is a nice room for it. What fun this will be. I'm part of it. And I've been part of it in the past, but it blows your mind. It'll be fun. There's a band song, sing-along. Ho-ho! Speaking of songs, Etta Cox, the great Etta Cox, will be singing as well. A band song. Billie Holiday's Strange Fruit, which is a song about lynching, which is an extraordinary song. The genius MacArthur Fellow and poet Terence Hayes will be there. I think he's reading from Lolita. Rick Seaback is going to be there. I'm not sure what Rick's going to be doing, but he's always entertaining. And then there's the Ladies United for the Preservation of Endangered Cocktails, and they will be out in force, and God knows what they'll be up to. So it's always fun. It's totally free. I won't tell you what I'm reading. Oh, I did already, I think. Did I? I'm reading from one of the most banned books of all time. No, it's not Ulysses. Nope, it's not. It's the Bible. I'm reading from the Bible. Year after year, when I was sent a list of the banned books I could maybe read from, I'd see the Bible there, and I'd think, the Bible? So I did some research, and it's actually fascinating. You know who mostly banned the Bible throughout its history? The Catholic Church. And they weren't kidding. I mean, people burned at the stake. I mean, it was, whoa. Now, of course, the Bible is banned in places like North Korea and Saudi Arabia and others. But I'm just going to read from it because I always thought it was sort of a sexy book if you looked hard enough. So I pulled out all those sexual things And we'll be doing a steamy rendition from the Old Testament. It's unbelievable what was going on. Well, I suppose you know if you read the Bible. Do you know what was going on? I mean, it's outrageous. It's every manner of horror, but I guess because the Bible, they have to have that story so that God can get really pissed off at whoever was doing it and kill him. And that's how you learn you're not supposed to screw your sister. I think that's what it is. I don't know. Oh, they don't say screw in the Bible. They always say, this is what I learned from doing all this research, he went in unto her. You know, I remember as a kid reading lines like that, and he found her pleasant and he went in unto her. And I always thought, well, isn't that nice as a kid? Because I was thinking it meant he went to visit her. But I'm older and wiser now, and I happen to know that when he went in unto her, that was something else. Okay. Somebody said it's Wednesday. Did I say it was Thursday? No. It's Wednesday, right? William, why are you telling me it's Wednesday? Because I must have said something else. Okay, it's Wednesday. If I said Thursday. Okay, yesterday I mentioned this quote, I think, that chilled my soul the first time I heard it, which was something to the effect in the Bush administration that we create our own reality. It was in an article in the New York Times Sunday magazine, and I thought, oh my God, these people are nuts. That if they don't like reality, they just create their own, and then, which is sort of what the Republicans now have done in so many cases. So William writes me, that one of Bush's aides said that guys like the reporter were, quote, in what we call the reality-based community, which he defined as people who, quote, believe that solutions emerge from your judicious study of discernible reality. And then this aide went on to say, that's not the way the world really works anymore. We're an empire now. And when we act, we create our own reality. Oh, dear God. That's what I read, yeah? And he goes on, and while you're studying that reality, judiciously as you will act again, creating other new realities, which you can study too, and that's how things will sort out. We are history's actors, and you, all of you, will be left to just study what we do. Oh, the arrogance. Oh, my God. The hubris. Guess who said it? Karl Rove. You see what I meant when I said it was chilling? Oh, by the way, the banned books thing at the Carnegie tonight is at 7. I forgot to say that. Free. It'll be fun. I know it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Usually when I have to do events at night, I'm like, but this one, I mean, I'm all, oh, banned books. It's always fun. Always fun. Okay. What else we doing? Oh, God, this news that the Pope met with Kim Davis. The Vatican refuses to confirm or deny. Take that as a confirmation. So Kim, our favorite homophobic clerk and Christian, was in Washington, D.C. for like a right-wing conservative voter forum that was going on. And it coincided with the Pope being in Washington. I don't know who reached out to whom, but she spent 15 minutes with him at the Vatican's pied-à-terre there in D.C. The name for it, I never did get it. It's something like a nunciatori, nuncia, what they call their embassy. They can't just call it an embassy. They call it one of these Latinate kinds of words that, do not roll off the tongue. Whatever. She went to see him there. There'd be no way. When I first read it, I thought, oh, my God, it can't be true. And then I thought, well, of course it can be true. And why would anyone have the gall to make up a lie like that? I don't think the likes of Kim Davis would. I can think of others who might. But, to lie about meeting with the Pope. So there you have it. I still love him. I squawk about corrections in the newspaper all the time. God knows you could have 5 pages of them on any given day, usually if we were doing misspellings and things like that. But, I won't be picayunish. But there was a picture in Tuesday's Post-Gazette that I looked at, and then I read the caption, and I looked at the picture again. Then I looked at the caption, and I thought, what the I said, are you nuts? It had people, including the one that was most compelling to me was a man holding a young boy in his arms. And they're running down from something. They're running down a sort of narrow street. They're all males. And the caption said that these were a group of Palestinians running from a stun grenade thrown by the Israelis. So I thought, oh, great, here we go again, great PR for Israel, blah, blah, blah. But here's the problem, the reason I kept looking at the picture. Those weren't Palestinians. And there were all kinds of telltale signs that they weren't Palestinians. One of the major people in the group that was running was so Jewish, it was a joke. The guy had on all the regalia of an ultra-Orthodox Jew. He had on his prayer shawl. He had on his ringlets, his hat. There was another guy sort of next to him who also clearly was a Jew. These were Jews. So that totally, okay, so there's just one little piece that's somebody who's just totally anti-Israel is going to look at that and say, look at those goddamn Israel, look what they're doing again. And I thought, those are not Palestinians, for God's sakes. Well, I got news for you. Quite clearly, a few other people called the Post-Gazette yesterday and said, hey, woohoo, woohoo, what idiot printed that picture with this caption? Here's the correction. I bring this up only. Here's the correction. This was on page 1. Page 1. A group of people were pictured fleeing a stun grenade in Jerusalem's Old City in a photo published Tuesday. The caption mischaracterized the people in the photograph. How's that a correction? Mischaracterize them how? I've railed about these corrections before. A correction doesn't do a damn thing unless you explain what your mistake was. The Post-Gazette regrets identifying the terrified running people as Palestinians. They were, in fact, Israelis. When it comes to Israel and Palestine, nobody sees clearly. Margie writes, the Pope is throwing the gay community crumbs. Well, yeah, listen. He can be he can't do it all. I guess that's a stand he ain't willing to. I mean, crumbs. Who am I to judge? That was a crumb. He clearly is trying not to be the censorious leader of a huge tribe that is stressing all the do nots and all the, he doesn't want his Catholicism to be a no, you cannot do that, you cannot do that, you cannot do that, that's a sin, and blah, 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 and we will excommunicate. I mean, he wants to, because that's what Jesus was up to. He wants to go back to what the general sense of what Jesus was teaching, which is why he focuses on being good to the least amongst us, which is why he goes and spends time with prisoners and says to the members of Congress, no thanks, I can't have lunch with you. I'm going to go have lunch with a bunch of homeless people. That's where I belong. That kind of thing. And in that regard, he is great. He is just great and walks the walk. Speaking of the Pope, the question was asked after he was here and we all went nuts for a week or so. Would it change anything? His speech to Congress, his speech to the UN, would all of this sermonizing that the Pope and teaching that the Pope did here, would it have an effect? And one of the callers said, ain't going to make a bit of difference. And I took issue with that and said, I think it will in people's hearts. A person there, a person over here. You won't be able to tell the people who were truly listening, hearing, taking in his message, and then trying to live better lives. That's not going to be a showy event. But it's quite clear that the institutions in this country ain't going to change one whit. And that's why, after he made such eloquent anti-death penalty statements at the U.S. Congress and at the prison, has no effect on the people who run that system. He even had a personal appeal to the Georgia Board of Pardons, or whatever they are, saying, please do not execute this woman. Please do not. It doesn't fix anything. It's not right. You could never give up hope. Blah, blah, blah. That was just a few days after he left. The Pope, who you thought might have a little more cred in the U.S., please don't do this. They did. They killed her dead. Just like they're going to kill this guy in Oklahoma dead. The Supreme Court continues to say, no, sorry, we can't hear that. And the other courts say, no. So, in that regard, excuse me, nothing changes. Can I do one more pet peeve here? Pittsburgh's downtown is, by its geography, an extremely tight downtown. It's built on a triangle. And And it was built in the 1800s, 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, and roads were narrower. They were for horses. And we got all these narrow little roads here in Pittsburgh. And I must admit, I have been driving down much of this year rather than taking public transportation. I'm sorry. I've been driving down, and there's one thing that I cannot help but note, and it drives me insane, and it doesn't make sense. And thank God someone just wrote a letter to the editor about it today. This is David Nurnberg. Yes, David! He says this: large delivery trucks, and the delivery of construction equipment and foodstuffs and dumpsters should be restricted in downtown Pittsburgh during the morning and afternoon rush hours. Duh. Yesterday, I couldn't even get onto 6th Avenue. They just stop. These big trucks stop in the middle. I mean, they do. It is true. There's this one little road. There was a big, huge van parked in a major bus stop yesterday morning. Rush hour. And they're parked for some time, and they're unloading stuff and putting in unloading stuff. Meanwhile, cars literally cannot, and that immediately creates gridlock up, down, and around that area. But the truck I saw was not the only truck that was doing that. They're all over the place. Anyone who comes downtown knows this to be true. Okay, we know that all of this stuff does need to be delivered, but other cities institute restrictions saying, you can deliver your stuff, but it's got to be after 10 a.m., and it's got to stop by 4. We restrict parking for that very reason. But these trucks just come and literally stop in the middle of the damn street, turn on their flashers, and that's that. Buses be damned, all the people trying to move be damned. It's crazy. Anyway, thanks, David Nurnberg. You're the first person I ever saw who pointed it out so coherently. He talks about the very time when this downtown is bustling with people and commuters trying to get to work, trying to get someplace else. There are people in cars, on bikes, on buses. And you can't get anywhere because these trucks, delivery trucks, stop in the middle of traffic, take an entire lane, blah, blah, blah. He says that most other major cities limit deliveries during rush hours, specifically so people can get where they're going. And it is high time. Pittsburgh did the same. Hear, hear, David Nurnberg. I mean, it is a no-brainer. Okay. Shall we talk about stupid Americans for a while? No, that's not very nice, is it? Oh, Margie says, the Pope had me again. However, I'm out. So, well, I understand. If you're gay, I understand. But he cannot do it all. And the odds are, even what he's doing, trying to just change the tone, might not last if the next pope doesn't sign on to the same agenda. I don't know. So, why do I feel like I'm very much alone? I feel so alone. Okay. Let me introduce you to the good folks of Duncan, South Carolina. Duncan, South Carolina. They held a meeting recently in the high school cafeteria. A bunch of them showed up. Hundreds showed up. When they came in, patriotic songs were blasting out of a stereo. Someone from the John Birch Society was peddling literature. And they were there to listen to a lawyer who came to tell them that unbeknownst to them, there were already 25 Syrian refugees living amongst them. Oh my, did these people go insane. He went on to say, they don't plan to assimilate. They don't plan to take on our culture. They plan to change the way of American life. Don't these xenophobes know history? I mean, can't they see that they're just the latest iteration of the know-nothings that have popped up throughout our history and are invariably proven wrong? I mean, if amongst this group of yahoos were Italians or Irish, Catholics, does it ever occur to them that their grandparents, great-grandparents were subjected to the same kind of fear-mongering and irrational hate? I don't think it does. Here's the truth. It says right here, front page, New York Times. None, zero, nil, zilch. None of Syria's refugees have been resettled in Duncan, South Carolina. That is according to the State Department. Now, there is a religious nonprofit who has placed 32 refugees in the region, but the vast majority are Christians. Oh, that's okay then. That's okay. They're Christians. All right. It doesn't matter if they're from some foreign country. They're Christians. And they're coming out of Myanmar and the Congo. Okay? Facts don't matter. A la Karl Rove. These people create their own reality, then react to that reality, and any effort to educate them as to what is really going on, save your breath. What happened is, when this World Relief, that's what the name of the organization is, one of 9 nonprofit agencies that work with the federal government. Catholic Charities does as well. They work with the State Department to resettle refugees. And World Relief opened up a new office in Spartanburg, which I guess might be in the area or near, or I don't have a clue. It ain't Duncan. And that's when Lynn Eisler, a stay-at-home mom who follows the news, heard that World Relief had opened up a new place in Spartanburg, she thought, not if I have anything to say about it. So this woman created a Facebook page that warned, here's a quote, of the perfect storm that the Syrian refugees will bring. She also went on to warn, like a Paul Revere she was, the Syrians are coming! The Syrians are coming! She warned her neighbors that communists had infiltrated some elements of the Christian evangelical movement that is cluelessly supporting this refugee resettlement. The elected officials of this area, they jumped on the bandwagon. This area is represented by a guy who is leading the House Select Committee investigating Benghazi. If it gives you any sense of, where they're coming from. Open hearings were called for. All hell broke loose. This all culminates in the meeting I told you about in the high school cafeteria with patriotic songs blaring and enraged people demanding that a stop be put to this. One of the speakers said, "This resettlement effort is part of the New World Order. They're coming to take your homes, your lives, your very way of living." He went on to say, "We are not a Muslim nation. We're a Judeo-Christian nation, and those two things cannot coexist." During the heated question and answer session, the thing is, the people that were answering the questions were all just a bunch of lying jerks. They were just peddling, again, their reality, which is based on fear and xenophobia. This passes for a public hearing. During the question and answer session, a woman asked, could the refugees possibly be sent back where they came from in troop ships? Another man stood and said, maybe we can put them on a plane or something to Saudi Arabia. And he was told, no, that ain't going to happen. And then he exploded. He said, well, what are we supposed to do with them? Shoot them? Which got applause. Shoot them? Come on, he said. I mean, this is crazy. The only true words the guy spoke. This is crazy. Ironically, he didn't realize he was talking about himself. Some of the local clergy, God bless them, are trying to push back, but they're not getting very far. What's happening is, and this could be trouble, I don't see how this works. There is a Jewish nonprofit that also works with the State Department. Most of these are religiously based. They're evangelically based. They're the Catholic Church based. I'm sure the more, what do you call those? Older, what do they call those? The older traditional Protestant denominations probably have these agencies, and the Jews have these agencies. Anyway, in the last 2 decades, this one Jewish nonprofit says, and others are doing the same, that they have increasingly been placing the refugees that are coming in smaller communities. They used to just settle them in big cities. But that became a problem because big cities, as we know, the cost of living is higher. And it makes it much more difficult for these charities to find proper living situations for refugees and their families. And so they've gone into smaller communities where rents are cheaper and all of that, but where I would suggest often minds are more closed. And where also these refugees would stick out like sore thumbs. So, I mean, if you're a refugee and you're fleeing horror, and then you get to the land that you think is going to be your salvation, and you're placed in a little town where before you know it, they're burning crosses on your front yard, what is the... I don't think that makes any sense. Small towns might not be the place to put them. I don't know. So, no Syrian refugees from this huge tsunami of humanity that we've been seeing now for well over a month. Not a one has yet been placed in the United States. And yet, look at this is, I'm not sharing all the ugliness with you. Look at what comes from these welcoming Americans. Unbelievable. Or not. It's not at all, of course. It's what has always been. I have argued for years. I can see that we wouldn't take down the Statue of Liberty, but get that poem by Emma Lazarus off the base. Get it off. Because it is totally untrue of America's heart now and Americans' sensibility. Give me your tired and poor. Oh, we will take in refugees, but you damn well better have money. Those are the ones we're letting in. Give me your tired, your poor. Why did I always know this and now I can't think of the second line? Give me your tired, your poor, your yearning to breathe, your huddled masses. Your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. That's what the Statue of Liberty says. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Is this true? The wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Think of that. All those Syrians in those boats and drowning, and that's wretched refuse of the teeming shore. Send these, we say, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Get it off. Get it off. It should have been taken off long ago. The Republicans certainly don't subscribe to it. As a party, they're quite clear they don't subscribe to it. And while we're at it, just to muddy things. Front page story in today's New York Times about these visa programs to bring foreign employees. These are not refugees. These are people who are brought in to the United States by specific industries, corporations, entities, employers. And you might have remembered there was a to-do when it was learned that Disneyland or Disney World was doing this, that they were bringing people in. They were then having their own employees, Americans, train these foreigners coming in on these special H-1B visas. which are, by the way, supposedly for employers to be able to bring in people with skills that, frankly, not enough Americans have, and so they need to find people off our shores. That's what those visas are for, and the program that created them makes it very specific, and that they are not to be used to oust any American from a job. Well, it is not working out that way. And there's just this horrific story in the Times today of Toys R Us. Toys R Us. Bringing in a whole... No, actually, they just brought in one. They brought in one woman, I believe, from India. And she was one of the accountants in Toys R Us, was told to let this woman shadow her. And apparently this woman literally did. She watched every move she made. She took pictures of her computer screen all the time. She did all of that. And lo and behold, after she left, almost every accountant at Toys R Us was terminated. And those jobs are now in India. That woman was here on one of these H-1B visas. That is not what they're for. They come in, they learn how to do the work, hapless, although sometimes the American workers are told, you got to train these people. And they know they're training people to take their own jobs. It says here that the former employees described their experience, but they wouldn't speak publicly because they fear losing the severance payments they were given. When they were shown the door, they were told to shut up, too. Same thing's going on at New York Life Insurance Company and other businesses. You know what the corporations call this? Oh, God, you gotta love them. Knowledge transfer. So they bring in someone, the knowledge is transferred, then the American workers are let go, and that knowledge now resides in another country. It's unbelievable. So if Congress doesn't, if Congress passes these things and then does nothing to police them, and here again we have corporations flouting the law. We have corporations screwing its workers and even forcing them to train the people who will take their jobs, which goes, insult to injury, adds insult to injury, doesn't even quite make it I would not do it. If I knew I was being asked to train, I would not do it, which means I'd be fired immediately. Now, New York Life is doing this too, and they're seeing a lot of people, and these, understand, are white-collar jobs. Accounting is something, if you're an accountant, your job is in danger. It used to be, it was just, you're a production worker in an industry. Those jobs are going to go. The jobs that are going now are jobs that do require a lot of education and ability, but we live in a global economy, and there's lots of people living in countries that'll work for 1/10 of what Americans are working for, and they got every bit as much education. Says here that for the New York Life employees who are losing their jobs to immigrants and to this knowledge transfer, is that many of them are immigrants too. Oh, man. Yeah, caller.
Hello, Lynn.
Yeah.
Hey, Lynn, one positive thing, one negative thing. I want to plug Off the Record coming up next week, next Thursday, October the 8th.
Oh, yeah.
On a positive note.
Yes.
And a second thing is, are we de-evolving? Are monkeys smarter than us, or... that's my question for the day.
Well, it's, it does seem that there are an awful lot of absolutely clueless people.
I really think we're de-evolving. Maybe monkey. I don't know. I don't even know if monkeys are. I don't know, birds. Which I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, no, I think monkeys are getting smarter.
That's what I'm saying.
And we're getting stupider.
Yeah. I mean, I just laugh.
It's funny until you start. Until you
exactly.
get scared.
I laugh so hard because it's the South. The South, like you said before, maybe we should have just let them succeed. Like Texas and these guys, just let them go. And South Carolina with their Confederate flags and things. I don't know.
Well, I've always felt like that, but I suspect. I mean, first of all, it ain't going to happen. But I mean, anyone who thinks that the North won that war, what happened is we did clobber the Confederacy, but they have not altered their position one whit.
No,
and
I mean, we're supposed to be a Christian nation. The Pope comes here. It's like, I don't know. Everybody's all excited, and everybody's cheering, raising their, beating their chest, and then he goes back to the Vatican, and we're back to our normal nonsense again. He just talked about the same exact thing. We're supposed to be trying to embrace other cultures and helping other people and look out for, you treat your brother as yourself and love one another, and then we just go back to being common.
Yeah. Remember, in the Congress, the Golden Rule got a standing ovation.
Common values, common rules. We're not. Nobody's better than each other. Come on. What? And then he goes back, and then we're just back to get these people out of here. I don't know what they're doing around here. I don't. With their swarthy color and complexion. I don't know what they're doing, what they're up to. It's like, what? Come on, people.
It's amazing.
Smelly foods and all kinds.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know.
I don't know either.
So I'm just perplexed. But like I said, on a positive note, go see the...
Off the Record.
The show.
Yes, I've gone every year. Off the Record at the Byam Theater. Benefits the food bank, and it is always a fun show, especially for people who are tuned in to Pittsburgh current events.
Yeah, if you lived here all your life, and if you understand and you read the papers.
Yeah.
And
well done.
I'm sure most of your listeners are current event people, and they know what's going on in Pittsburgh politics.
Right.
You go to that show. It's the funniest.
Really well done. People work very hard.
Hey, Lynn, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. Okay, and while we're speaking about the beleaguered American worker, I got another thing here that I've been meaning to share with you. The $15 an hour minimum wage that when we first started hearing about it with these people picketing outside McDonald's, I'm sure a lot of us thought, oh, dream on. I mean, come on. This country's never going to see a $15. And yet, what have we seen? We've seen Los Angeles, the second largest city, declare that in its city limits, $15 is going to be the minimum wage. Now they're doing it a little slowly. It'll be by 2020, it'll be the minimum wage. It's adding up and up and up. San Francisco, 15 will be the minimum wage. Seattle, 15 will be the minimum wage. Chicago, $13. Washington, D.C., $11.50. Cities all over this country are passing these laws that set the minimum wage well above what the federal mandate is and often what their state mandate is. The federal mandate right now is $7.25. So $15 is more than doubling that. But guess what's happening? And by the way, the last time the feds raised it, you know what year it was? Seems like just yesterday. It was 2009. Okay. So guess what's happening? This is what makes me so crazy about Democrats. Democrats pay no attention to any elections other than the presidential election. Republicans, on the other hand, pay attention. They pay attention to school board elections. They pay attention to judicial elections. They pay attention to city council elections, county elections, and most importantly, to statewide elections. And so you have the vast majority of states of this union held in absolute thrall by the crazed conservatism of the current Republican Party, including Harrisburg. So do you know what's going on now? This is all I want to say. I'm going to finish the story. So what does that have to do with Los Angeles doing 15 and other cities attempt? These Republicans, because they work together, these Republican legislatures, as you know. One of them gets a bill and says, hey, man, this really worked to screw the workers or to screw somebody here, or to help the rich get a little richer. Here, you do it. And they do the same kind of legislation. The legislation that's currently all the rage in Republican legislatures is legislation that would make it illegal for any cities in their state to establish their own basement for minimum wage. That's what they're going to do. So I doubt that California, I doubt that LA or San Francisco is going to get impacted by that. But I'll tell you, St. Louis, which passed an $11 minimum wage, you can bet the Missouri legislature will wipe that baby out if they can. And you know that's how Harrisburg operates too. Every time a city tries to get away, because cities by their nature are more liberal. They're places where all kinds of people live together. Excuse me. They value diversity. They value the melting pot. They value those different smells of different cuisine. They love this. And when cities try to now move beyond the Neanderthal positions of their state legislatures, the legislatures are, bang, overriding them, pulling them back, or passing laws before a city can do anything. Remember when cities have tried to get legislation, gun control legislation, they pass. We did. States, NRA goes immediately to the state. And the states, okay, yes, Mr. NRA, absolutely, we will get to that immediately. And they pass legislation which negates the ability of a city and its citizens to decide for themselves. I just wanted to tell you that. I don't know what it'll take for the Democratic Party to educate its people that tend to vote for them that they have got to vote in every goddamn election, and they've got to vote Democrat. The party drives me crazy. Maybe they are working on it, but I don't know. Beth writes, we have a friend who lost a job at Mylan Pharmaceuticals IT department in the same way, just 4 months ago. She had worked there for 20 years. And to get her severance package, she had to train her Indian replacement. And she was not allowed to transfer to another department within the company. This should not be allowed. It is very sad that many people lost their job that same way. Welcome to the global economy. We don't even have to ship your job overseas anymore to save money. We can just bring the workers here. Wow. Hey, you want some more happy news? Sorry, guys. I mean, by virtue of the fact that I do this show, I read and read and read and read. And I see these little things, and I never see them on the news, and I figure people just really don't know. You don't know anything until something blows up. You look, for instance, at the Planned Parenthood nonsense yesterday in Washington. This is what our Congress, our Republican Congress, is doing. There was no point to that hearing except to beat up the president of Planned Parenthood. There was nothing gained, nothing changed. There is so much for that Congress to actually be working on, and they simply won't do it. And we're paying them. We're paying them for it. We're paying them to screw us and to not do their job. My God, if we're the ones employing them, then why the hell aren't we throwing the sons of bitches out? I couldn't help but notice something strange when I went to the rally here yesterday, which culminated at Senator Toomey's office here, which is at Station Square. And that's where the rally was, and that's where the speaker spoke. And then the CEO of Planned Parenthood Western Pennsylvania and the head of their board of directors intended to go into Senator Toomey's office and give him a petition with a whole bunch of signatures on it. Here's what I noticed standing in front of the doors of that building. It says private building. I have been there before for rallies because a lot of, I think it's the Republican office holders here, have offices in that building. And how much sense does it make that a public servant, a supposed representative of the people here, Senator Toomey is supposedly our guy in D.C., and he puts his office in a building that you can't get into. There's a big, beefy security guy there, and you cannot get in. Toomey is up for re-election next election. Same time we're voting on the president. Anyone who doesn't vote for whoever the Democrats put up is out of their minds. We have got to get these people out. Okay. Am I almost done? I am almost done. I have other things here, but Well, maybe I'll point this out, as long as I've been generally a messenger of unpleasant tidings today. The other day, a Texas judge declared a mistrial in a murder case involving a white sheriff's deputy who was accused of murdering an unarmed black woman while responding to a domestic call last year. This is a mistrial, so he was not convicted. And it's pointed out that it is only the latest example, with all of the news we're seeing, of white police officers acting badly, especially regarding black lives. We're not seeing convictions, even now. More U.S. police officers have been charged with crimes in deadly force shootings this year than any other year, as far as we know, ever. But in the 4 cases that have actually gone to trial, no officer has been convicted of murder or even manslaughter. Just pointing it out. And this article talked about, even though prosecutors, they're trying mightily. These have to be unanimous juries. And all it takes is one juror, and usually there's even more than one, who just can't believe that the police officer was not in the right. Okay. I just want to say this. Go Bucks, go Bucks. That's for 2. There's 2 games today. If they lose even one, the Cardinals have won the title. What else is new? Which means that we've got to win absolutely every game from now on, which ain't going to happen. Which means we're going to be playing the Chicago Cubs right over here for a winner-take-all, and they're going to put that damn pitcher on the mound, and we're not going to, the second-best team all year, we're not going to get to move on unless we get past that pitcher. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Go Bucks!
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.